25, and clock is ticking. The clock is ticking.
So yes, I keep telling y'all never, ever, ever find another.
In the world of local politics, where day-to-day governance typically takes precedence over drama, Mayor Tiffany Henyard of Dalton, Illinois has turned her time in office into a spectacle that could rival a reality TV show. Rather than being recognized for any significant achievements, Henyard has become a divisive figure, earning the self-proclaimed title of Super Mayor due to her increasingly extravagant public stunts and questionable financial decisions. From over-the-top publicity events to dubious spending choices, her administration has been plagued by scandals, spectacles, and growing financial instability. The controversy surrounding her leadership only seems to escalate. Henyard's time in office has sparked a wave of frustration, with residents of Dalton and neighboring Thornton Township taking to social media to voice their displeasure. But despite the widespread anger, Henyard remains undeterred, defending her actions and dismissing the mounting calls for her resignation. One of the more eyebrow-raising moments in Henyard's tenure came when she announced that she would be running for a second term as mayor. With a sense of bravado, she compared herself to a certain divisive former president, Donald Trump, and downplayed the scandals that had defined her first term. This announcement triggered an immediate backlash from residents, many of whom expressed their anger over her leadership or lack thereof. Public gatherings in Dalton have become chaotic, with citizens lining up to vent their frustration and local trustees engaged in heated disputes over Henyard's mismanagement. The town's once stable finances have deteriorated under Henyard's leadership, with Dalton now facing a staggering deficit of over $3 million. Just a few years ago, the town had a healthy general fund balance exceeding $5 million, but Henyard's decisions have wiped out that surplus and left the municipality in financial ruin. Alarm bells began ringing when an investigation led by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot uncovered shocking details about the town's finances. Among the most startling revelations was a nearly $40,000 Amazon shopping spree funded by taxpayer dollars. Yes, you read that correctly. $440,000 spent in a single day on an online shopping binge. Residents have been left baffled and furious, demanding answers about what was purchased, who authorized the purchases, and why such spending was deemed necessary. Henyard's refusal to address these financial discrepancies head-on has only fueled the anger and mistrust among the community. Transparency has been sorely lacking, and her avoidance of direct answers has led many to question her fitness for office. Despite the growing outrage, Henyard continues to maintain her super mayor persona, boldly defending her actions as though the town's mounting financial crisis is a mere side issue. As Henyard pushes forward her campaign for a second term, the town remains divided. Her leadership has become synonymous with mismanagement, and her refusal to acknowledge the mounting evidence of financial waste has only deepened the rift between her and Dalton's residents. What was once a promising political career is now defined by scandal after scandal, each one adding fuel to the fire of public discontent. With every new revelation about her administration's financial troubles, Henyard's popularity has plummeted. Her once growing base of support has largely dissipated, replaced by an overwhelming chorus of voices calling for her resignation. As the town sinks further into debt and chaos, it's becoming increasingly clear that Henyard has become a figurehead for frustration and division. Her inability to lead, compounded by reckless spending, has left the town in a state of disarray despite all the signs pointing toward a need for change. Henyard remains unshaken in her resolve. Her second-term bid is now met with skepticism and resistance from nearly every corner of the community, while the financial investigations into her administration continue. With more revelations likely to surface, it remains to be seen whether Henyard can salvage her political career or if Dalton residents will finally demand a change they have long been calling for now. The legacy of Tiffany Henyard's time in office is a tale of squandered opportunity, public relations disasters, and a deeply divided town. If she does run for re-election, it's clear that the town of Dalton will remember her tenure for all the wrong reasons.
New calls for a change at the top in South Suburban Dalton.
Of course, we are talking about...
Tiffany Henyard has maintained that the controversial expenditures made under her administration were for the benefit of the community. However, an audit has raised serious concerns about her handling of public funds. The audit uncovered a troubling pattern of careless spending, with high-value charges on the village's credit card becoming routine under Henyard's watch. Many of these charges were either poorly documented or completely unjustified, prompting critics to accuse her of reckless and irresponsible financial management. Critics argue that Henyard's approach to managing taxpayer money has been excessively cavalier, especially given the town's growing financial crisis. During a heated village meeting, one frustrated resident boldly asked, "Where's the accountability? Our streets are collapsing, our schools are underfunded, and she's out here spending like it's monopoly money." This sentiment has been echoed by many residents and trustees who are demanding answers about Henyard's spending habits and her priorities as mayor in the midst of ongoing financial turmoil. Despite the mounting criticism, Henyard has continued to defend her actions, insisting that her leadership is crucial for Dalton's future. But it's not just her spending that has ignited public outrage. Her leadership style has also come under fire. Henyard has been described as combative and chaotic, contributing to a toxic atmosphere at public meetings. What was once a forum for constructive dialogue has turned into a battleground, with residents and trustees alike openly clashing with her over her decisions and management. In one particularly tense meeting, Henyard was chastised for arriving late, which delayed an already contentious session and further exacerbated the frustration of residents. In response, one angry participant stood up and declared, "We are not your subjects. We are your bosses, and you will not treat us this way any longer." This outburst reflects the growing sense of dissatisfaction with Henyard's leadership, as many Dalton residents feel their concerns are being ignored and dismissed rather than acknowledging the criticism or addressing the growing unrest. Henyard defiantly labeled critiques as nothing more than contempt, and insisted that her leadership is exactly what Dalton needs. "Whether you like it or not, I am your mayor," she proclaimed, stepping up her defiance and making it clear she intends to hold her ground despite the mounting pressure. This response has only intensified the anger of residents, who view Henyard's refusal to address their concerns as indicative of her disconnect from the people she was elected to serve. Her combative attitude, combined with her apparent disregard for the town's financial well-being, has solidified her position as a deeply unpopular leader. Many are questioning how long she can continue to deflect criticism and hold on to her position as the investigation into Dalton's finances progresses and the town's fiscal situation worsens. It remains unclear whether Henyard will be able to maintain her grip on power. Her tenure, marked by escalating scandals and increasingly hostile public meetings, seems to be spiraling toward an inevitable reckoning. The question now is whether her defiant stance will allow her to weather the storm or whether it will ultimately push her out of office.
Bias. At the conclusion of this investigation, I will provide an assessment of the findings and the recommendations.
The drama surrounding Mayor Tiffany Henyard extends far beyond Village Hall, with her personal life now adding yet another layer of controversy to her already tumultuous political career. Henyard is currently facing an eviction lawsuit from her landlord, who claims that she and her boyfriend have failed to pay rent since August. The landlord alleges the couple owes thousands of dollars in back rent, and even changed the locks on the property to lock him out. This legal battle has thrust Henyard's personal affairs into the public eye, only intensifying scrutiny. She's already under. Critics argue that Henyard's priorities seem to be focused on maintaining her public image rather than addressing the pressing issues facing Dalton. The situation raises questions about how someone earning over $300,000 a year from 2 public jobs could find themselves in such financial trouble, especially when their role is meant to serve the community's interests. Adding to the spectacle, Henyard, who has branded herself as Super Mayor, has made a series of ostentatious public appearances, including the installation of enormous welcome banners featuring her face. These displays have been widely criticized as self-serving and tone-deaf, as they emphasize Henyard's growing obsession with her image rather than any substantial progress in Dalton. The situation took a turn for the worse when it was revealed that the vendor responsible for these banners had not been paid for their services. When workers began removing the banners, Henyard allegedly called the police and demanded charges be pressed against them, including her own village administrator. This move sparked further outrage, with residents questioning why Henyard appeared more concerned about her reputation than the town's well-being. Many have found the situation embarrassing, with some pointing out how out of touch Henyard seems to be with the needs of the community. One critic called it embarrassing, emphasizing how Henyard's fixation on her public image is overshadowing the real issues at hand. This obsession with her image, combined with ongoing financial mismanagement and personal controversies, has led many to question her ability to lead effectively. Henyard's actions suggest that maintaining her public persona is more important to her than resolving Dalton's financial instability and the growing public unrest. With critics rising both inside and outside of her administration, it's becoming increasingly difficult to see how Henyard can recover from the series of missteps that have defined her time in office. Instead of addressing the issues that matter most to Dalton residents, she seems to be doubling down on her defiance and obsession with her image, fueling further public dissatisfaction and outrage.
Mayor Henyard to arrive. We will give another 5 minutes.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard delayed the meeting with no...
The political turmoil surrounding Mayor Tiffany Henyard of Dalton Illinois, shows no signs of easing, with drama unfolding at every turn. While local politicians typically focus on routine governance, Henyard has turned her tenure into a spectacle, often overshadowed by her personal controversies, questionable decisions, and a growing sense of dissatisfaction among residents. This constant chaos has fueled widespread public frustration, leaving the town at a critical juncture and many questioning whether Henyard can hold on to power for much longer. The latest wave of controversy centers on Henyard's personal life, which has become as much a focal point as her political career. She is currently embroiled in an eviction lawsuit, with her landlord accusing her and her boyfriend of failing to pay rent since August. According to the landlord, the couple owes thousands of dollars in back rent and even changed the locks on the property to keep him out. This legal battle, which has thrust Henyard's personal finances into the spotlight, has only compounded the scrutiny she faces, leaving residents to wonder how someone earning over $300,000 annually from two public positions could find themselves in such financial trouble at the same time. Henyard has continued to make bold moves to maintain her public image, many of which have been met with disdain. One of her more ostentatious gestures was the installation of large banners featuring her face, which were hung around the town. These displays were criticized as self-serving and tone-deaf, especially in light of the ongoing financial troubles Dalton faces. What made matters worse was a revelation that the vendor responsible for creating the banners had not been paid for their services. When workers began removing the banners, Henyard allegedly called the police and even pressed charges against her own village administrator. Fueling further outrage, she cares more about her image than the well-being of our town, one local resident pointed out, adding to the mounting frustration. Henyard's growing obsession with self-promotion has made her seem increasingly out of touch with the needs of Dalton, a town facing significant fiscal challenges. This obsession with her public persona is not just a recent development, but has been evident throughout her time in office, including during her tenure as the supervisor of Thornton Township, where her leadership was similarly criticized as erratic and divisive. Henyard's most criticized move as township supervisor was her push for a 100% homeowner tax rebate, which she called transformative. However, the proposal was swiftly rejected by trustees and residents alike, who labeled it unrealistic and a thinly veiled attempt to boost Henyard's reputation. Christopher DeMal, a trustee at the time, criticized the plan as fluff and accused Henyard of using it to enhance her public image rather than address Thornton's real financial issues. This pattern of attempting to bypass proper channels and push through initiatives without sufficient backing or planning is carried over into her tenure as Dalton's mayor. The town's residents, particularly those who are already dissatisfied with her leadership, see these actions as symbolic of her poor judgment and inability to govern effectively. But it's not just Henyard's financial mismanagement and self-promotion that have sparked public outrage. Her increasingly erratic behavior and combative leadership style have left many wondering how much longer she can maintain her grip on power. Instead of collaborating with trustees or engaging in constructive dialogue, Henyard has made it clear that she intends to stand firm in her controversial decisions, no matter the cost. One example of this combative attitude occurred during a village meeting, where Henyard was criticized for arriving late, which further delayed an already contentious session. Residents were visibly frustrated, and one individual stood up declaring, "We are not your subjects. We are your bosses, and you will not treat us this way any longer." Rather than acknowledging the criticism or addressing the growing unrest, Henyard responded defiantly, calling the critiques nothing more than contempt and reiterating that she is your mayor regardless of the backlash. This dismissive response has only fueled the anger of residents, who see it as a clear indication that Henyard is increasingly disconnected from the people she was elected to serve. The town is in crisis, with growing financial instability, strained public services, and deteriorating infrastructure. Yet, Henyard continues to focus on defending her leadership and maintaining her public image, often resorting to social media rather than addressing the real issues that matter most to the people of Dalton. Many residents have criticized Henyard's frequent social media broadcasts, which they argue serve as little more than distractions. Instead of using her platform to engage in meaningful dialogue, Henyard has used her online presence to accuse her detractors of corruption and conspiracy, often without providing any evidence to support her claims. This combative online persona has only alienated those who already felt disillusioned by her leadership. "We need a mayor, not a social media celebrity," one local resident noted, frustrated by Henyard's apparent preference for online attention over actual governance. For some, these broadcasts are a source of amusement, but for others, they have become a symbol of Henyard's tendency to prioritize showmanship over substance. The contrast between her image-focused social media antics and the growing list of issues facing the town could not be starker. With public services strained and Dalton's financial health deteriorating, residents are increasingly questioning how their mayor can continue to focus on her personal brand rather than the real problems plaguing the community. Henyard's time as the supervisor of Thornton Township was similarly marked by controversy. In addition to the failed tax rebate plan, she frequently bypassed the board's input on key decisions, further alienating those who had hoped for a more collaborative and transparent approach to leadership. This pattern of unilateral decision-making has only continued in Dalton, with Henyard's administration frequently criticized for being chaotic and divisive. One of her most criticized moves as mayor was her appointment of Ronald Burr as Dalton's new police chief. The appointment raised eyebrows immediately, with trustees arguing that it violated the law. The Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board even sent a letter stating that Burr was unfit for the role due to expired certifications and missing documentation. The appointment was quickly challenged, and the trustees have vowed to take the matter to court, further exacerbating the legal battles and conflicts surrounding Henyard's administration. Henyard's leadership style has left Dalton's government increasingly paralyzed, with key trustees refusing to attend meetings due to their concerns over her management. Trustees such as Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle have effectively prevented the board from making essential decisions, such as approving bill payments and renewing insurance policies, by withholding their participation. Henyard has accused the trustees of intentionally undermining the township, but Gonzalez and Carlisle argue that they are simply advocating for transparency and fiscal responsibility. "We will not participate in the circus," Gonzalez remarked, emphasizing their commitment to acting in a morally responsible way. The situation has only worsened with the growing legal challenges facing Henyard. Both Dalton and Thornton Township have received subpoenas as federal investigators begin scrutinizing the financial records and spending patterns of Henyard's administration. While Henyard insists that she has nothing to hide, the investigations have only served to fuel suspicions of potential wrongdoing. This, in turn, has deepened a sense of disillusionment among residents, many of whom are already frustrated with her leadership. Public meetings in Dalton have become increasingly tense, with residents openly expressing their frustrations and demanding Henyard's resignation. The once civil forums for dialogue have devolved into chaotic confrontations, with Henyard often refusing to address residents' concerns or acknowledge the mounting problems facing the town. Many believe that Henyard has become more focused on defending her position and reputation than on leading the town toward solutions. Her combative attitude has created a growing rift between herself and the very community she was elected to serve. With Henyard's approval ratings in free fall, the growing chorus of residents demanding her resignation has only gotten louder. As the election season approaches, many Dalton residents are wondering if it's finally time for change at the top. Her political future seems increasingly uncertain, especially as one of her harshest critics, Jason House, has entered the race for Mayor. House, a longtime local resident, has quickly gained support with his promise to bring accountability, transparency, and integrity back to Dalton. His campaign has resonated with residents who are fed up with Henyard's scandals, financial mismanagement, and self-centered leadership. The growing momentum behind House's candidacy signals a shift in public sentiment, with many residents eager for a new direction and a leader who will prioritize the needs of the community over personal gain. As the election draws closer, it seems clear that the upcoming vote will be a referendum on Henyard's leadership and the future of Dalton. Voters will have to decide whether to continue with a mayor whose tenure has been marked by scandals, poor decision-making, and a troubling lack of accountability, or whether they will embrace a new leader who promises to restore fiscal responsibility and transparency to the town. The ongoing investigations into Henyard's administration, including federal scrutiny of the town's finances, have only added fuel to the fire. As revelations about questionable spending, financial mismanagement, and legal challenges continue to surface, the pressure on Henyard has only mounted. Her refusal to address residents' concerns and her apparent disregard for the town's future have left many questioning whether Dalton can survive under her leadership. The growing public outcry, combined with legal challenges and rising opposition from candidates like House, has left Henyard facing an uphill battle to maintain her grip on power. It seems increasingly unlikely that she can weather the storm of scandals and public dissatisfaction, especially with the mounting calls for her resignation. The election will ultimately determine whether Henyard can regain the trust of Dalton's residents or whether her tenure will end in a resounding defeat. With public opinion turning against her and the town's future hanging in the balance, Henyard's time in office appears to be drawing to a close. Only time will tell whether she can salvage her reputation and turn things around, or whether Dalton will usher in new leadership to clean up the mess left in her wake. As the situation continues to unfold, one thing is clear: the political storm in Dalton is far from over, and the town's future is at a critical crossroads.